Hi, and welcome back to Navigating the Unknown. We are still here. Believe it or not, we're having some fun and this is working. I'm Andrea Stern of SternRep and AskSternRep. In these webinars, we have covered a lot of important topics. These are the issues to help us get a sense of what we need to be doing right now. APA LA, thank you for making this happen for all of us. We have our splendid co-host who I sincerely enjoy. Smile.
You're so sweet.
Hugh Kretschmer. He's an LA photographer and APA LA board member. And our two guests who I handpicked for this, consultants Amy V. Cooper and Julie Scarwecki joining us. Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, hello.
Our pleasure. Let me turn to Hugh first. Hi, Hugh.
Hey, happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for coming. And Andrea, I'm thrilled. This is episode 12. I am thrilled to be here. I'm learning so much, and I think our audience is too, based on what the feedback we've been getting. So thank you for donating your time to us. And I've been a board member for about 3 years, and we get together, and I love this board, and we talk about advocacy, and we talk about what we can bring to you guys, and this is a result of that. So I just appreciate that opportunity to do that. And thank you for our esteemed guests coming. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. It's going to be we have a big crowd today, so hope you guys aren't nervous. But back to you, Andrea. Thanks.
I'm going to introduce both of them. Amy V. Cooper. Amy is one of the top photography consultants in the US with over 20 years experience working as a professional photographer, photo editor, ad agency art buyer, and as a photography agent. She has the unique experience of having been on every possible side of the camera with a variety of clients, including UPS, Microsoft, Mary Kay, Coca-Cola, Netflix, Teen Vogue, Esquire, and many more brands.
Thank you so much for having me and for APA for doing this. It's been so valuable this year.
Very true, especially this year. And then we have Julie Scarwecki. Hi, Julie.
Hi, hello.
Julie is a consultant specializing in helping artists define their personal brands, strengthen their portfolios, connect with photo editors and art buyers or art producers, and successfully target their ideal clients using strategic marketing and promotional tactics. She has over 10 years experience in the photo industry, including being a photography agent and consultant. Thank you for doing this, gals. Wait, she has worked with photographers and illustrators with clients lists that include Amazon, Facebook, Coca-Cola, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, Instagram, Gatorade, Fendi, Whole Foods, Target, Delta, Bud Light, and many, many more. So hi to both of you.
Hello.
And I wanted to just get into my plan for this topic is a very thorough discussion. I want to get to the purpose of websites and how to really get our sites to work for us. How do they sell us? How do they bring us success? And in gathering all these questions we have on websites, I realized that I may have been overambitious, wanting to focus on two such large and crucial topics that can make or break our careers. They're both so important. Looks like we will need to split this into 2 episodes and not do both topics. So I'm sorry about marketing will be in the future, but for this one, we are going to keep it to websites. So ask your questions and know that we will answer as many as we can while we keep as on target with our topic of websites as much as possible. Any marketing questions we will save for that episode. And attendees, remember to join Hugh and I, right, Hugh? Because we have the best rap chat. That's what we call it. And that'll be a short thing we do after this. So stay with us. Stay with us, y'all. So let's jump in. Amy and Julie, will you give us a brief idea of how you work? Like, what's a little summary on what photographers get by hiring you as a consultant? Either one.
I don't know who wants to go.
for it.
Okay, I'll go first. So I tend to focus mostly on the marketing and the brand messaging, as you explained. So typically when I start working with someone, it's usually because they've come to me when they've reached a plateau in their career. They either aren't getting the type of clients that they want, or they've reached a certain level and they're not really moving forward, and they can't really figure out, without having an objective, and what they need to change. And so I really work with people to sort of set these bigger picture goals first. If it's a financial goal or a client list or, just a lifestyle even that they're looking for, and kind of work back from that to take a look at everything that they've been doing so far, see what's working, what's not working, what we can change, and then hopefully work together also to kind of stay on track. So it's usually a longer term relationship, not quite the commitment of an agent, but we are working together usually for, a few months, a few years, to set those larger picture goals and then just make sure that we're on track to reach them.
I just want to ask you a question, and then Amy, tell yours, because I don't want to forget. Can't find my pen. Do photographers who are having a hard time, it's like we all think of consultants when we need help.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever work with people when they don't need help? Things are going really well, but they want to just keep up on it,
It depends on what they're looking for. Like, some people come to me and everything's fine, but they just kind of realize that they really want to shoot one specific thing and they're not getting that type of work. And they can identify that it's probably because of the presentation, the portfolio, the website, the marketing, their branding, everything. And they just want to pivot. But most often it's because they need someone to tell them what isn't working because they can't see it.
Okay, interesting. And Amy?
So for me, I do portfolio reviews, marketing strategy. I also do editing and accountability. I have a signature portfolio review and marketing strategy consultation package that I start my clients with. It's really important for me to start with this package so that I can really get to understand their business before I go into editing with them, because I really need to know what their goals are and who their target market is. And sometimes they may not really know who that is. So that's what I start my clients with. Usually after that, we'll go into editing. I can edit in sequence their galleries or their websites or their portfolios. And then I also have an accountability package, which is, some of my clients just need someone to hold them accountable to keep doing what they're supposed to be doing. And some just want to have access to brainstorm with me once a month, or to be able to call me when something random comes up. So I love the accountability package that I do as well. And sometimes that is, setting up a marketing campaign for the next 6 months, or maybe it's a big project that they want to do, and I'll help them break it down into digestible tasks, and we'll meet once a month.
Because I know all photographers feel like we're all in this bubble by ourselves. So it sounds like you guys could be, what's the word, Hugh? The support,
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say it's a partnership as much as, an action team. Let's put it that way. Like I have action partners in my, as far as my business is concerned. We call each other every day, talk about our actions. And so I feel that's what that is, when you're talking about accountability. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so important to get out of your head and to get out of your bubble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to other people, whether you have a coach or if it's a friend or another group of photographers.
The other thing that photographers have a hard time with is being objective about their own work.
Yeah.
And I see you
Absolutely.
two, let's be objective here. This is how it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And everyone. I mean, I have people that I talk to about things that I do in my business where that there's a blind spot. It's not like a personal issue. It's just how everyone operates. You're never going to have an objective view of the way that you appear. So even just having calls, sometimes like a one-off call just to get that feedback from someone, I think can be really valuable to an artist who, like we said, sort of exists in a silo.
And you two know the business.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's a very good point, because I've experienced where I'm so passionate about a project and my agent says, I don't know where we're going to be able to fit this. How about
Mhm.
this over here? And I had no idea, no idea, no clue.
Mhm.
So
Mind
it is
open.
great. Yeah, it's great to have an objective point of view.
How do people know if you're the right consultant for them? What's the difference between you guys and other consultants?
There are a lot of different consultants. They consultants like Julie and I who do more commercial editorial. I think you need to go to, look at a lot of different consultants and see what their background is. See if they've worked in the industries that you want to be working in, and go to their Instagram or their blog and look through their content and see if their tone resonates with you. And most consultants will offer a free consultation call. I certainly do, and that's a great way to do a vibe check.
That's a
Mm.
great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely shop around. I think that's important. I really encourage people to don't just call me, call other people, make sure that you're asking about their experience level and making sure that you just get along. If I say something on our intro call that you're like, she doesn't really get me, that might not get better. If we're just completely different people and we have completely different visions and we're not understanding each other, then
Questions can they ask you?
A lot of people ask about background, but not as much as you would think. Mostly people ask they want to feel a certain level of trust, and so they usually want to know kind of off the bat, what am I seeing in their portfolio, or what do I think, just kind of quickly doing a cursory overview of their work or what their goals are, what sort of a plan that I can think of right now that would work for them. And that, I think that helps on both sides, because again, if I say something out loud that they're like, oh, I hate that idea, I want to hear that right then, that whatever I'm thinking is a good idea, it might not resonate with them. So it helps to make sure that you're on the same page from the beginning, and to just get excited. If you're talking to a consultant and they have this great idea, or they really have a vision for your work, then you definitely want to work with that person, because they're going to advocate for you.
Mm.
Yes.
So do you fit to their work? I mean, or is it, or do you see someone's work and say, I don't know if I'm attached to it, but I know how to help you.
Yeah, I think it's more about
Yeah.
having confidence and looking at their portfolio and saying, I definitely know how I can get them to a higher level in their work.
Mm-hmm.
You
So you
ever
can get them as well.
do you ever look at work and go, I don't think I can help this person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if the work's not there, there's not a whole lot I can do to help you market it better. You have to be at a certain level, but that doesn't mean that you can't help them with something.
Sure.
But I think it's important to be transparent and say, what you really need to work on is portfolio building. And maybe we leave it at that and say, okay, come back to me in 4 test shoots or something, and let's see what we can put
That's a good
together.
idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I also think it's really important for photographers to have specific questions ready for the consultant when they get on that
Totally.
call. Sometimes we'll get on the call and they're like, I don't know, I was just drawn to you, help. I don't know what I need help with. It's good to have those specific
some people
questions ready
send
for
me
them.
an email beforehand that has a list of questions, I know we're doing an intro call, we only have limited time, this is what I'd like to cover. And that's super helpful, because then we're not beating around the bush. I know exactly what you're looking for. We can sort of get to the point. You get the value out of that call initially, and we get to understand each other better. It's just a clearer communication.
There's 2 things that come up for me about this, just thinking about what a photographer must be feeling. What if they don't know their goals? And then what if they know their goals, but they don't know how to get there?
Well, that's why they're calling us, probably.
For both?
No, for the second one, usually they know kind of me, and they're like, I don't really know, things just aren't really working out. There's usually a few questions that we can ask, who is in your mind, like, what's the first client name that comes to when I ask you like who your goal client is? And there's always going to be something they think of. Or, you know, is it a lifestyle that you're looking for? Are you trying to stay closer to home? Do you want to do more travel? Do you have a financial goal in mind that feels like the base limit for you to be happy? You know, what exactly are you trying to get out of your career? And then from there, I mean, I'm sure Amy does this as well, but you know, there's a questionnaire that usually follows if we decide to work together that it helps to break down those goals as well, so that we can really put it into like a SMART goal, so that there's boundaries, it's specific, it's time-based, and then we can start talking about what those action steps are to get there.
Boundaries meaning specifics.
Yeah, so a SMART goal, oh gosh, I think I'm going to get it wrong. It's measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So if someone comes to you and let's say they have a financial goal, they want to make, you know, they want to make 120K next year. That tells me, okay, well, we need to break that down and look at what you've been doing so far and what we need to change in order to get to that next level. How are we going to fine tune your processes? How are we going to, you know, adjust your fees, your packages, your services, whatever it is? How does your marketing need to change to reach that goal? But because a lot of people will come and they're like, I want to shoot for Nike. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, well, what are you doing and when, and how are we going to reach that? So putting that into baby steps for people, like really breaking it down, I think helps to process exactly what you need to do to get there.
Measurable steps.
Amy, do you work the same way?
I have a really juicy questionnaire that I give my clients when they sign up for my first package. And a lot of them tell me that just those questions, working on those questions has really helped them understand their business better and what they want to be doing more of. So I think that questionnaire is really important. And then I agree with, I used to do SMART goals. Now it's more reverse engineering. And I think really it's just helping photographers break these things down into little tasks so it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Are we ready for a question?
Yes.
From the audience?
For a question, Hugh.
What's the best? This is from Anonymous. What's the best way to finding your specific look or niche? I love shooting a variety of styles, but I know having a more concise brand is best. And is that true? Is that true?
It is true. People always resonate to something that they can identify with confidence, like in any world. So if someone can look at your book and see exactly what they're going to get when they hire you, that they're going to lean more towards that artist than the person who feels like it's kind of a crapshoot, you know? And if you really think about it, like those people have jobs, you know, the people at ad agencies, they're reporting to someone. So they need to feel confident when they hire you that you can get the job done. So that's just part of building confidence, is to have a consistent portfolio, consistent look and feel. I think what people come to me a lot about is like, oh, I need to have one category. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be one. Like you can have more than one, but your look and feel should be consistent across those categories. You know, I want to look at your interiors and say, okay, I can see the world that portrait lives in as well. These are all in the same world. This is the same person creating it. And I think if someone's having trouble identifying that, like, I would encourage you to work on a personal project. Find something that resonates. Explore a location and go out and take as many photos as you can, and then look at those later and see, like, what are you drawn to? You know, do you go for like bright energy, poppy? Do you go for more quiet moments? Like, what is it that your eye is drawn to? And then that can sort of inform what your book looks like, because that you're always going to be drawn to that same thing.
I do something in my classes. I teach photography, and I have my students, the first assignment is they have to make a Pinterest page. And they have to make a Pinterest page, and then thread. You find common threads in all those photos. They just, they have to do it 30 to 50, and it's a remarkable exercise, and they really
I love
it.
Yeah, one of my questions on my questionnaire is to ask my clients to journal their dream assignment. And
I love that.
I think as far as figuring out how to be more niche, I think you really need to think about and the things that you're most passionate about, because that's obviously where your work's going to shine.
Mm.
Right.
What about different categories? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. There was one other question here.
One
Someone's
more. You be quiet. Is vision boards. I'm really into those for photographers and myself. See, once we see everything together, we can get this vision and a visual of what it feels like. Go, Hugh, go.
Well, someone's asking now if I shoot editorial and I like shooting food, how does that work? You know?
Well, editorial can be, food can be,
yeah. Yeah, those are not mutually exclusive.
True.
Okay.
Editorial is a type of client, not a genre of photograph.
Right.
You guys, we have to jump into websites because we are going fast here. Okay. So in my opinion, a photographer can be fantastic with their quality of work, and they'll get jobs even if they have a bad rep, or if they have bad marketing, or they're not on Instagram, all of it. But they have to have a good website. Like a photographer, I don't think can get a lot of jobs and success without a good website. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the main portfolio that people are looking at, unless they're discovering you at a portfolio show. But I mean, that's not as likely as someone just going to your website.
Yeah.
And there's so much information that they can get about you there really quickly. So that's, if you can make a really good first impression with your website, you can, definitely seal the deal.
I agree. Amy, you agree?
I do agree. And, you might be getting a lot of work that's word of mouth, but in order for you to kind of take it up a notch, the people who are hiring you are also going to have to share your work with their beautiful to share, especially in advertising. In advertising, our buyer doesn't want to share a terrible website with their client.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll lose a job, I think, if you have a bad website.
For sure.
So let's get into good website. What do you think potential clients are looking for? What are their questions that get answered on websites?
They're really trying to gauge your experience. You need a website that's really easy to navigate. They're trying to gauge your experience and also a little bit of your personality. So the navigation, a style that's consistent, and an about page that gives a little bit of a taste for your personality as well as your professionalism, I think.
I always say a photo in the about page is very important.
You do.
I do.
I think so.
If I don't see a photo in your about, you might as well have it in both.
Save you the step. I always tell people there are three immediate questions that I think clients are usually looking for. The first one is, who are you? Like, what type of photographer are you? And that's why I'm a big fan of an overview page. I want to see a bunch of images at once that give me an idea of what you photograph. Is it lifestyle, sports, food? Is it bright and poppy? Is it dark and moody? Just tell me who you are. The second question, as Amy said, is experience level. There's a lot of photographers out there, and your clients don't really want to waste their time on someone who hasn't gotten to the level that they need, or hasn't shot for the clients that they need to see in order to feel comfortable with you. So I think in terms of navigation, I also really love to see it broken into categories. And then I want to see some client names pretty quickly. And then the third thing is location. Your clients need to know where you're located. And that's not always a deal breaker. If you're not, it's not that you have to be in New York or LA, but they need to know where you can work, what markets you have access to, and how, if they really want to hire you, how much is it going to cost them?
Especially right now,
wherever they want you to go.
There's so many photographers who don't list what city they're in. And as an art buyer from the advertising world, that's so annoying. And there's so many photographers who don't have their contact information. They'll just have a form. And that's crazy. Put your phone number, put your email address, and make that clickable. Make it so easy for them. And I get really excited when I see photographers who have their contact information in their navigation. So it's on every single page. It makes it so easy.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, the forms are a little bit like shouting into the void. Like if someone has if they're looking for, an art producer is looking for a photographer for a project, like they don't know how often you're checking that info at your name email address to know that like you're actually going to get back to them.
I would think they'd get very nervous. Is this person
would.
message? And there's no phone number sometimes. Oh God.
Yeah.
That could steer them away from using you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little changes can turn someone off really quick. If you make it too difficult for them to get the information they need or to get in touch with you, they'll just find someone who makes it easy.
Agreed.
Same goes, I see this too, which we'll talk about in the next webinar, but in your marketing materials, make sure that phone number and email address is right there at the top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a question if we're ready for one.
Okay, go for it.
From Tracy Tarek. As an agent, I'm reconsidering my homepage.
Tracy.
At first, I thought it was important to have to have categories front and center, but now I'm wondering if I need to have the names of my talent front and center instead of listed under the tab of photographers. Any tips? Or what are your favorite style of home pages? There's two questions.
I think it's important to list your photographers, but I also, especially for rep websites, it's so important to be able to search by category of work. Like I need to be able to easily find all your lifestyle photographers or all your food photographers.
So like a separate tab for that, I guess, right?
Yeah, separate categories tab.
Yeah.
And then the homepage. Interesting question. Because I also wonder, sometimes we don't really have homepages anymore. Unless it goes right to the overview.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I would rather see the list of photographers. Because that tells me also if you list your photographers and maybe under, I see a photographer's name and then it's food, lifestyle, portraits. And then the next one is, sports, fashion, whatever. And then I can also search by category, but I can quickly get an overview. So if I'm looking for a photographer, I can go to that site and see, okay, well, they don't really have anyone who does fashion. So
what if this isn't for a rep, but for a photographer? Do you think they should have a homepage? Or
if it's
not a fan of a splash page,
overview.
I think it's a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight into it.
Go right there to it. You got it.
It's also,
it's
super stressful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like, what are you going to do on that homepage that's going to make that big of an impression? You have to choose one photo that represents your entire work, which you're not going to be able to do. You're going to stress yourself out. So just skip to the overview page where you can show me your whole vibe and all like the range of what you can do in a well-organized way.
Yeah.
And it'll slow people down to have to click again.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to figure out, okay, where's the navigation? And you're looking around trying to find that, or are you waiting for the image to pass? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many seconds an art director or producer looks on a website,
I say 2 or 3 seconds.
I think standard is that you have 8 seconds to make an impression before people bounce. But even that, if someone knows what they're looking for and they can't see it, they're just going to leave. They're not, people aren't going to spend as much time on your website as you think that they are making decisions. So you got to give them the answers.
And
and make sure those first photos on your overview are what you want to be shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for
No, that was great. Viewer friendly is the term, right? How do we all have viewer friendly websites? What does that mean?
I think that your categories terms.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like seeing larger thumbnail images that I can scroll vertically. That's the easiest for me. And I love navigation should either be at the top or on the left. And then to what Hugh was saying about having your best work right there at the beginning, keep in mind that people are likely to navigate your website. If your navigation is at the top, they're going to navigate from left to right. And if it's on the left, they're going to navigate from top to bottom. So you want to have your favorite work either at the top or at the left, on the left.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I agree. You start with the strongest category, obviously overview, but then whatever it is that you want to be hired for, that's your strongest work, that should come next. And then you trail off. That's why like contact is at the end, because we want people to take that path with you, to start at the strongest and go. I'm doing it like we're at the top, but go across, and then they end with contact because they love everything they've seen, and now they're going to call you about this job. And I love what you said also, Amy, about the thumbnail version and vertical scrolling. I think that's important. Being limited to only looking at a slideshow is a really good way for me to like leave a website. I'm not messing with that. It's too time consuming. In fact, any option where you can't look at both a full-size image and a thumbnail is probably a bad design, because different people do have different preferences. Some people want to see one image at a time really big. If someone's pressed for time, that's a time suck for them to go through your whole portfolio. They want to just get the overview. So make sure that you can change between the two, and then you're not trapping me in a slideshow that I don't want to be in.
But also, don't assume that someone's going to go to your website and understand how your navigation works. The ability to go to a thumbnail view, but don't assume that someone is going to know how to do that.
Should be clear.
And also be careful by having too many drop downs or sub navigations, because that too, you have to be really careful with the UX, because some of these things take a few seconds to figure out how to navigate, and you have those 4 to 8 seconds.
Yeah. And I think what you said also about using industry terms is really important. I think people don't really think about that, but in terms of the SEO for your site, it's really important that someone can look for lifestyle and find a lifestyle image, not look for life, or like don't call portraits people necessarily. Like sometimes that might work, but don't just give like creative names. That's not the area where you should be getting creative. Just tell me exactly what I'm looking for, so that the SEO on your site is stronger, and when someone's looking at it, they know exactly what they're going to.
You guys do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to a point, like I'm not a web developer, but for a photographer's website, there's not a whole lot of opportunity with text. So there are specific ways that you can strengthen the SEO on the website that is just specific to a photographer's website.
Okay. All right. There is a question. How many photos in the overview page is too many? 15, 30, 50?
I think that really depends on the size of your thumbnails. I say for any gallery page, you could have 25 to 40, but it really does depend like how small. You can have more if you have smaller thumbnails, less if they're bigger. But I usually say any gallery should be 25 to 40.
How big are how big do you think a decent size thumbnail, or is that a choice based on the work that they're presenting?
I think anything more than like you're getting too small, regardless of the work. But the work is important too. If someone's doing like for instance, if someone only, or their portrait section is all like environmental portraits, there's a lot of objects in that photo. If you look at those on a smaller scale, you're not going to be able to really, like visually, you can't pull out what you're looking at. If we're talking about landscapes, technically that's a simpler image a lot of the times, but then you're not getting the scale of the image, so it's not having the impact that it should have. It's very specific to like the image itself, but I usually say no more than 4. I don't want to see more than 4 images wide, because that it just hurts to look at, and you don't know the size of the screen like that people are viewing it on. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot there.
As little clicks as possible, because people are not into clicking anymore. And at least 3 to 4 scrolls down should be
looking anymore.
No.
But too short. I think it's more dangerous to have too few scrolls. One scroll, I'd be like, what? They don't have, they just started? They're new?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to get into the clients looking from the photographer. When they look on a website, and actually this is a question from someone, Alex asks, what are some qualities to emphasize that agencies and clients look for when choosing to work with a photographer? Like how do we make the client, how do we reassure the client? What do they want to get from the website?
I think that, oh, sorry, Amy, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I think you need to really appear to be specialized at what you do. That's probably the most important thing. But aside from that, having that client list on the bio page is really good. And also, I can tell when I'm looking at a photographer's work, how working with. I think that's really important, especially if you're getting into trying to work with bigger brands and advertising agencies. And also be careful about the grammar on your website. That's important. Have a copy editor help you with your bio if you're not sure about it, or definitely get other people to take a look at that.
That's a super smart suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they're kind of like a common marketing term is just social proof. I think that's what people are looking for a lot of the time. And that's also why, we talk about the importance of having your client list somewhere on the site where it's really easy to find. And I like seeing it like right out the gate. I want to see a few different projects organized by client, not all of them, but, selected clients, commissions. I want to see something like that where I can look and see that you've worked on a larger production before, that you've worked with an advertising agency, or that you've worked, with a larger brand, because that helps me to build trust with you. That tells me that other people have trusted you with their creative project, and I could also do that. So for me, if I can't look at a website and actually to your point, Amy, production value is like, that tells you a lot too. But if I can't look at the website and see a really strong commercial appeal in the images, so in the production value of the images, and then also back that up with some really strong client names, I think that can be a real limiting factor for a lot of people. And I'll talk to people who I look at their website and I'm like, okay, well, they kind of have a client list in their about page, but it's not that big. And I'm kind of getting a vibe from their overview and their portfolios. But then when I talk to them, they've got this huge client list that they're not putting onto the website in an easily digestible way. And that's just such a missed opportunity. Like, tell me that you shot for Corona and show me the images, and then did for them. And then that it builds trust with the clients, and it shows the way that you approach a whole project.
I want to get to the overview. There's always this thing I feel I want to be able to click on an image on the overview and it will take me to the others in that same campaign.
Yes.
So I want the overview to be directly linked to the projects or
Sure.
work. Something that shows more than just, I want to see more of that one. Okay, I'm going to see more of that one when I click.
Yeah, some people don't have that though, and that's where that gets tricky. If that's the standard for your design on your website, you're going to run into a roadblock if you have a project where, let's say, you really only had like 3 final images. Are you going to take someone to a page where there's only 3 images in a portfolio? Because then you're locked in a little bit,
Yeah.
You guys advise on which server, to go to, Photofolio?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who do
Okay.
you like? Who do you use? Who do you recommend?
I like Squarespace a lot. If you're going to be building your own site, that's my preference. Just because it's so easy to update. If you need to make changes that aren't available in Squarespace, the cost to hire someone to make those changes is very minimal, and there's a lot that you can achieve. And the SEO for Squarespace is very adaptable, and it's a great program for just kind of upping your like search results. I think it works really well for that specifically.
Amy, do you have any thoughts?
I don't want to play favorites, but it really does depend on, are you really hands-on, hands-off? Do you need to customize things? And then also there are some website template businesses that offer things that are more specific to photographers. So a photofolio offers the ability for your clients to create PDFs, which can be really important. So if you're working with a lot of big brands and advertising agencies, that might be the way to go for you. I absolutely love format. It is so easy to use. To me, it's way easier than Squarespace, although I do love Squarespace. And they both have so many features, and I see what they are starting to develop for the years that are coming, and it's really exciting. And I think Photo Shelter is working on new features right now. Who am I missing? WordPress is WordPress is a lot more customizable, but you really have to kind of know what you're doing, have a little bit of experience with building web pages. It can get tricky. It's also, in my opinion, having had a few business websites through WordPress, it in the past has been kind of hackable. So that kind of concerns me.
Really? Huh.
Might be different now, but yeah, I mean, because it's so popular, I think my husband and I both have had WordPress websites that have been hacked into a little bit.
Gosh.
It's been a few years though. I've been with format for quite a while.
One important thing I find extremely important, because a client told me this: draggable images to their desktop. They want to quickly show you to their clients. And when they can't drag them, for them to take the time to make screen grabs.
Yeah, a huge pet peeve of mine is when people don't have downloadable images from the website. And I understand it feels like maybe you're just letting people take your images, but the cons outweigh the pros to that. You need to make these images something that people can use.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But my recommendation for that is copyright your work and then go after Pixie. All right.
Exactly. Just sue them later.
Get money for it. So back in the day when we had portfolios, I remember often a photographer would have one portfolio for this, one portfolio for that. Especially if they live in a smaller city, maybe they're more general, and then they have a national portfolio. Nowadays, and even like some businesses, wedding photographers, they should have a separate website for that.
Yes.
When do photographers need to have a separate website, and how to bring these two things that might be opposite together?
My answer to that is always to ask who you're marketing to. If you're a wedding photographer and you also shoot commercial work, you're talking about the difference between B2B and B2C. So your marketing practices in general are going to be different. There's not going to be overlap, and they might hire you for that. So if your client base is completely different, then your marketing needs to be completely different, and you need to have separate websites. Yeah. I mean, if you're just talking about, some people that I talk to are like, I do portraits, but I also shoot food. Is that separate? And it's like, no, that lives in the same world. Because there also is a world where someone hires you for a campaign where you need portraits and food. Right. You probably need lifestyle as well, so you should do some test shoots. But in the meantime, that can all live on the same website.
Yeah, that's really smart to think about it in terms of marketing. Is it a completely different client? So you can have commercial, editorial on one website, but what I call retail photography should be separated from commercial work. So headshots, family portraits, weddings, things like that should be separate. I also think fine art should probably be separate too. If you're a photographer.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
What about the video and photos together? There was a question about how much do I emphasize video?
Lot.
Right?
No, a lot.
That should be on the splash page too. So when or the overview also.
Yes. And all types of motion.
Yeah.
I like to see it mixed in. Like if you can start, especially in your overview section, if you're showing me little bits of motion mixed in with the still images, that immediately tells me that I can, first of all, I'm seeing little bits of motion, but it also will tell me that I could find more if I continued looking on the website. So if you then have a motion tab where, like, let's say you have, little bits of like GIFs or cinemagraphs in the overview, you also have a motion tab. Now I can go and see the long form videos there. That
I mean, you're expanding your clientele possibilities by showing that video. So it's really,
And it actually keeps people on the page longer. So it's better for your SEO if you have motion, because that will keep people looking at the website a lot longer. And the longer people spend on the website, the better your SEO ranking will be. So you do want that to be like a first impression. You want there to be video like kind of right away.
that's really cool.
I do have a Facebook AskSternRep group, and most of the conversation on there when I brought up websites has been about categories. So I just want to say all these questions. It might be a little repetitive, but maybe bring up some other aspects for it. Jasmina asks, how to categorize work and website menu? So how to well, Julie, you did say use the right terms. Don't say people for lifestyle. So it's
just be really simple. That's not the place where you need like portraits, lifestyle, sports, food, very simple terms that we're all going to be able to recognize very quickly. And again, the part of that is to just make it easier, because it shows a certain level of professionalism. On the one hand, it shows me that you know what people are searching for, you know the terms that you're supposed to be using, and it's also better for your SEO ranking. So that helps your website overall. I like to see it as like a drop down or something that breaks out. I want to see categories, and then I can go into it and see, food, lifestyle, portraits. And then, like we said before, I also really want to see the same thing for clients. I want to see some selected clients. So in order to limit how much space your navigation is taking up, it's better for me if those are drop down menus, so that when you're looking at it, let's say it's your logo, overview, categories, that breaks out, clients, that breaks out, about, and then contact, and then that's it.
Right. Easy navigation, viewer friendly, same thing we were talking about.
Very easy. Yeah, very simple.
Simple, stupid.
Yes.
Scarlett asked, best website strategies, how much to show, especially if you shoot multiple genres, portraiture, street, fine art.
I'd say more than 3 categories of work is probably getting to be too much. It doesn't, you don't come off as a specialist. So 3 is a good, 3 to 4 maybe.
Really important.
Maybe 4. I like 3. 3 is usually where I want it to end.
Interesting. Hugh, we're learning a lot here today, aren't we?
Yeah. Going back to video a little bit. So one other follow-up question from was, do I call it motion or do I call it video?
Is it just animation? Is it actual video?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I think that's the answer right there.
Good questions. Keep these questions coming in. We have still time for them. Zach asks, I would like to hear more about how to focus a portfolio when you are shooting a variety of genres. Obviously, commercial work comes from having a tailored style and point of view. But if you are an action photographer, for example, is there ever space for something like landscapes? If so, how do you best incorporate that?
Yeah, I think if you're shooting action and landscapes, to me, go together just fine. And you never know when a client's going to want you to shoot a plate, for example, or a background.
Good point.
I think it really just depends on how different your categories are, and if your style is consistent throughout this category.
People get hung up on this question, and when they start overthinking it, what I like to point out is that when we're talking about having a niche or a specific, style, it's not that you only should be shooting one thing. it's more that when I look at your work, it lives in the same world. So it's not really as important that you say I only shoot action, but if you shoot action and landscapes, I want to be able to look at those images and say, okay, this landscape looks like he was shooting someone and then just turned around and took some photos without people in it, and it's the same photographer. And I think that's even more important. I mean, you don't want to be a jack of all trades, but if I can connect the dots in your images and see, in these 3 different categories that we've identified as being your main categories, if I can see who you are as a person, what are you drawn to, what's your specific through, then it doesn't matter as much that you have one specific niche, because you're creating your own brand around your style. And that's really what's more important. It's not like you can only do one thing. You can do, we said, up to 3 to 4 things, but let's make sure that those are in the same world. They're shot by the same person.
Yeah, and you can keep those different categories on your website, just not in your navigation. So if something comes up, you can send someone to a gallery that
Great point.
But it's not necessarily in the navigation. And you always have those images, on your hard drive or whatever, if you need to create a PDF for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that you only can do 3 or less things, but try not to confuse your audience too much, because if you have like 10 different categories of work, you're almost coming off as a little bit desperate. It's like you wouldn't want to go to a dentist or or you know what I'm saying.
Good point. I have 2 more.
That's a good analogy.
This is from Delaney. I shoot a vast variety of things under commercial and editorial, and although it's all very stylistically similar, I'm struggling with how to section it out on my website. I guess maybe we've answered it, or any other?
Yeah.
Okay. Heather asks, I'm curious about how specialized to present yourself on your website. For example, I do commercial, environmental portraits, theater promotion, musicians, chefs, farmers, but I group them all under portraits on my website because they are all portraits. So what do you recommend? My specialties are commercial, portrait, food, lifestyle.
That's it. Yeah. Portrait, food, lifestyle. Those are your categories.
Yeah.
You could also have like another section of projects.
Yeah, that's other ways that you can break it out. And that's why I also like seeing it by client, because sometimes someone hires you and they want some food images. They also want portraits of the chef. They also want interiors of the restaurant. So when you're doing that, that's more than one topic, but it's for the same client. And I think there is some value in showing that if someone wanted to hire you for that, you can get the whole picture for this one client. And you can break out things into projects, but your portraits don't need to be broken out by subject. A portrait is a portrait. So I don't need to know who is in it in order to categorize that.
Do you both suggest a personal section?
Yeah, strongly. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we won't get into it. What here?
I show personal work even on the overview.
Yeah, you should. It should be mixed
What about a
in.
separate personal section?
Yes, both.
That's the word that comes from here. That's the word that comes from here. This is the work that I want to do.
And your clients want to see that. They want to know what you do. Like, if no one's paying attention, what are you pursuing? Because that also informs, like you said, that tells you who you are. And so much of hiring a photographer is personal. So if they can look, especially if you're connecting the dots, like, I love how everything is so calm and it's very peaceful and there's great design and there's soft lighting. And then they look at this personal project where you're exploring the work of an architect and they're getting the same vibe. Then that helps to build trust also, because they can see that the person that you are is coming through in your work. And so even if they give you, whatever directive you have, they know that you're going to create the work that feels authentic to you.
Also can inspire them to take a completely different direction. I've known photographers to get hired for their personal projects.
Yeah, I've been hired many times for personal projects. You know, it's like just a great segue. There is one question I have from someone about travel and automotive categories going together. He seems like it doesn't really work for him. How do you suggest that person fuse the two together?
I
think
assume they have.
I'm wondering if, like, you include, I don't know if he shoots lifestyle too, but I've seen a lot of lifestyle photographers.
Julie, we
do
lost your video.
Oh, I'm
you did.
back. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Anyway, just
Yeah.
the two together, lifestyle, travel, automotive.
Amy, what do you think?
I think it should go together if the style is consistent between the two categories. If it's not, then you should talk to a consultant.
So I found my pen. That's so important. All these really kind of stick together. Everything we're saying has this one flow, which brings me to a question. Jody asks this: what is the most common mistake people make on their websites?
Not putting their contact information.
Good one.
That is a really good one. I would say I want to go back to the navigation. Or who your clients are really quickly is just it's a great way to just have a higher bounce rate.
True. Hugh, what do you think?
I think all of those are, you know, yeah, I would, and you know, show that I'm a big advocate for showing the work that you love to do. Just do that.
One that I think of is I'm a little judgy on logos. Some look very dated.
Ooh.
If they don't, right now, I think logos are your name. And I have a palm tree in mind because that's to me. I love it. So something that can go with your name.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Your brand, so as a photographer, your brand is just yourself. That's why it gets so personal. People want to know who you are as a person. They want to know that they're hiring someone that really understands their vision, that can as a, you know, as a client. And the best way to represent that is just using your name.
Yeah.
You know, if there's
make it stick in their heads.
Yeah, make it stick. I think visually, like one thing, actually, this is one thing that really bugs me is when you can tell that someone just used like this Squarespace make a logo thing and it's just like Helvetica their name. And you're like, God, like put some effort. We can find fonts. Like I can find you a font tomorrow. It's so easy to just make that one little extra step that adds a bit of personality. And it tells me that you're taking yourself seriously. You know, you're not just, your brand isn't like something that you just plug in. It's something that you really spend time on.
Which goes back to clients trusting you.
Exactly. Yeah. So much of this is just about trust.
Well, now that asks a question, that begs a question about, do you hire a designer to build your website? You know,
if you can.
Recent students from our college before. I think there are ways to do it. But
yeah,
do you guys believe in that, having someone design your website?
I do, but I think it's a luxury to some people. You know, I don't want to tell anyone to invest a few $1,000s on a beautiful website if they're also trying to attract clients. That might not be the first step. That might be something that comes later in your career. You know, a lot of people just will get there eventually, but there's so much that you can do on your own also that it's like, well, I don't want to, you know, let's see how far we can get with you making your own website. And then when we kind of start topping out, let's talk about hiring a designer then.
Next step.
Yeah.
I had this experience, and Tracy Tarek, I hope you're still there, Tracy. We meet, me and Mary from Big Leo, the three of us meet every week, and we're each other. Tracy's website, Poppy Creative Agency. But Mary and I noticed when you scroll down, you lose the name of who you're looking at. And both Mary and I said, oh, this is what you got to do. There's this new feature that brings your name as you scroll.
It's static. Yeah.
Static.
Yeah.
It's an important one.
Good point. Here's someone from, I think, starting out, Patrick. When you're starting out, what do you say on your website if you don't have an extensive client list?
I think it's fine to just leave it off until you have that client list.
Yeah, you have to build it.
Yep.
There's not really a workaround for that. Like just keep working. When you get clients, put that on there. But focus definitely on having a really strong overview and portfolio so that you can attract, and on your marketing so that you can attract those clients.
Yeah.
And same goes with tear sheets. If you don't have many, don't make a tear sheet.
Somehow so that there's like a combination of images happening. You can do that as well. I love tear sheets. Yeah, you could do a tear sheet / advertising section where you had, like, if there are images that were used for a campaign or something, you can kind of mix those in with tear sheets, depending on how much content you have. But, that's a solution as well.
Very interesting.
Let's see. A question from Matthias asks,
Hi, Matthias.
Oh, okay. How do I become a more approachable to prospective clients and agencies? Approachable. Kind of maybe everything we're talking about with viewer friendly, navigation, quick, easy.
Personable. That can come up on your Instagram as well, not just on your website. But
I have a thought, just myself. Judgy again. I judge a website within 2 seconds, maybe 1 second. I get there and I'm like, oh, they're at this level. I see their level immediately. What makes a fantastic A+ website, in your opinions? All three of you, please.
Consistent style and easy navigation.
I think the logo that we talked about before also, if I can tell that you made a logo and that you've put some thought into the design, that's not a deal breaker necessarily, but that will help to solidify you in my mind as someone who's at that next level. Because like we said, I wouldn't advise someone just starting out spend all your money on a website, right? Like that's something you're going to do incrementally as your career moves forward. So if I can see good design, clear navigation, great images, a strong overview. Like I want to see also those first 3 to 4 images to be like super strong. Then you can make a really strong first impression. But it's all of those little things. It's not going to be one.
You say logo. Sorry, Hugh. 1 second on your. So think about it. Logo. We are still talking more of. It's basically their name.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I want to see either just your name or just your name and like photo or photography underneath maybe, but I want to see it in a font that looks distinctly yours.
Well said. Hugh, what do you think? A+
website? I think the work, of course, has to be super strong, but I'm also a big advocate for a strong, classic, simple design. It's like tastefully done. But the biggest beef that I have is when photographers put too much design and that overshadows the work. And it's you talk about bad logos or too much splash, and then the work is just not up to par. I think it's got to be a balance.
For me to answer my own about how judgy I am when I rate somebody, I think my rating is based on how specific. Do they own this category of what they do? Are they specific? Is the client going to know their name when they're looking for that thing? That to me is. We have some questions from Megan in Chicago. She's asking about a very big subject for today. What do we add or include on our website for COVID safety blurb, work in place examples, anything that is more today related, or should that just go in a newsletter and stay off the website?
No, I think it definitely right now needs to be on the website. It shows that you're being proactive, that you have, your precautions in place, and to be able to show your clients what you have done, whether or not it's creating in place or being able to that that's also building trust with them, that you're paying attention to those things. And don't just have a little blurb about we're able to shoot safely. Like, go into some detail about it to help them with that comfort level and build that trust.
Mm-hmm. Knowing what you can do at home is like what your capabilities are right now, I think is really important. People who are shooting product and food and still life and have their own studio space are in a really sweet spot right now, because people can just send you that product. You can figure out how to communicate with the client throughout the day, send them images, that is something that people would value a lot right now. So even I know a photographer who did some campaigns just inside of her house because she has really good.
Oh, shoot.
Was there?
Really?
I don't know where I cut off.
Good. Wait, she shot in her house because she was really good.
She had really good design. She's very design minded, and her home is really beautiful. And so she was able to shoot campaigns just in her own home because she has that interior setting already. So if you can show people, if you have a studio space, you can tell them what you can create in that studio. How big is it? What are your capabilities there? If you do have really solid backyard or something, or really great interior design, something like that, where you can add value for the clients and show them what you can do at home, I think would be really a really strong move right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for backdrops, or if you have cute neighbors or pets, all of those things are really helpful.
Totally.
Whatever you have to offer right now.
And that's just marketing.
Yeah, that's another.
It's just telling people.
Talk about marketing.
I know. Sorry.
What do you think? Showing my capabilities, I had a whole thing, and I sent it out in an email. Do you think that's still pertinent now, or sending out an email to promote that?
If you've already done, you mean reminding people that it's already.
Not reminding people, but those people that maybe catch it.
Haven't sent that out yet. Yeah, totally. If you can show me what the images look like, that helps a lot, instead of just telling me I have a studio, show me what the studio looks like, or show me some images. So create images. If you don't have a client that you can do that for, do some test shoots so that you can show me what you can do with product inside of your home studio.
And you can have that on your website as a link, or a
sure.
Look at more.
You never know who's gonna open your newsletter or forget about it. The more you remind people, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then also the way you're talking about it on your website, maybe it's a separate section of things shot at home. On your social media, things like keep telling me this information, so that it becomes top of mind.
Very good point. This is
really
brilliant. I'm learning a lot. Oh, and okay, another one from Megan. And what are the good bones of a website? What format do people want to see? Grid style, different categories, about page, contact forms. How much is client work and tear sheets versus personal work or testing? I think we have covered it, but
wow.
Yeah, I think we covered that, but I would say probably 75% work, and then the rest can be personal, other things.
Yeah, agree with that.
I have a question, you guys. Do you guys prefer navigation to be on the top, or to the left or right, or below?
Never right, and definitely not below. But I prefer it on the left, but I know that that kind of depends also on who you're using for your to host your website. But I think classically the left makes sense. Left or top?
Well,
If it's
I think it would,
it needs to be static with the scroll, like we were talking about before.
yes.
Yeah, it has to come with you.
Right.
I like on the top. I don't like on the left for some reason. I find it distracting to look at images because it's right there next to me.
Oh, interesting.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal either way, I think.
Yeah. I will say that one pet peeve of mine is when people don't take into consideration the size. If they have the navigation at the top, the size of that header, if it's static, and the size of their images. So if I'm looking on like my laptop and the header is cutting off the image and I can't see it, then I'm like, oh, like I feel like you didn't look at this to see what my experience as the viewer was going to be like. And that can be kind of annoying.
Very.
So check it on a laptop, a desktop, and your phone.
Especially now, 2020, everybody's at home on their laptops. They're not in the office with these huge screens, maybe.
Yeah.
So another thing to think about.
We had time for another question.
Okay, go ahead, Hugh. Yes.
Should you list agencies you worked with on your client list or just the brands?
I say both.
Why not?
Technically, you worked for both.
That's good.
That's good. I feel like we're kind of rushing to get to the end, and I have 5 more questions. So I'm going to zip through them. I'm curious, what do you ever get into who your clients are in their life? Like, do you get a little more personal about what makes them happy, where they're at, how to reach their goals, maybe how to get their way, or maybe what gets in their way, or what personally blocks them? Do you address that with your clients?
Yeah, it's like therapy.
Get into what's blocking you and where is your mindset. That's really what we do, I think.
Totally. Yeah. And also like what you said, like part of deciding what you want from your career is deciding what you want from your life. Like, do you want to be traveling a lot? Do you just want to stay close to home? Do you want to be shooting every single day for a smaller brand, or do you want to be shooting a few times a month for a larger brand? What exactly what feels good to you? And so answering that questions is helpful too, so that we make sure that we're actually pointing you in the right direction, instead of pursuing potentially a goal that you don't even want.
So do you ask questions like, where do you see yourself in 10, 5, 1, 3 years, and like your lifestyle, do you start there? Because I think that would be where you would start, and then you hone it down to these little actions that you take every day toward.
Not that specific wording, but yes to identifying the big picture goal and then working backwards from that. To see like, because the answer to that could be a lot of different things. Like we said, it could be financial, it could be lifestyle, it could be a specific client that you want to shoot for. And so identifying what that big picture goal is and using that as your like lighthouse kind of throughout your career, so that everything you do is pointed toward that goal, will just make everything easier. You're not going to be spinning your wheels so much.
I also feel like the industry is changing so fast, and I mean, just 2020 in general, I don't think we can plan 5 years down the road anymore. I think I actually stopped offering year-long packages, and I just go, let's just do 6 months at a time, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Big changes. Yeah. There's should we have links to all of our social medias, including websites that we subscribe to, like Behance and other, or Pinterest, or?
I think you should have links to the websites that you are active on. If you haven't updated your Behance or your Tumblr in 2 years, don't put it on there. If you don't share your photography on Twitter, don't put your Twitter handle on there. Only ones that you're really using. And I really think photographers should take way more advantage of LinkedIn and have a link to your LinkedIn. I think that's really important.
I super agree with LinkedIn. I think people really underestimate how important that can be to forming connections with your clients. And especially because we all know how people in the advertising world work. They're all moving jobs every like 6 to 12 months. So one way to keep track of them is just to follow them on. They are. I personally don't want to see I don't really care about your Twitter. I really don't care about Tumblr. I just want to see Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. That's kind of it.
So would you post stories on LinkedIn that you would on Instagram? Or
in a different
More of a
way,
written,
but yes.
right?
Okay.
I want to see the whole package. I want to see, like, if you're posting something on LinkedIn, I'd rather see like this recent campaign that you did for Coca-Cola. Here's a few different images from it. Tell me a little bit. Maybe you're calling out credits if you can. And then that's kind of it. I don't want to see like one-off photos like here and there kind of scattered around. I want it to look a little bit more
Look
professional.
at the story.
Yeah.
story.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think LinkedIn can really serve as almost like a blog now. And the great thing about LinkedIn is if someone in your network likes or comments on something work. So it's incredibly valuable. It's, you know, it's like how Facebook used to tell you so and so liked this thing. So it's a lot more friendly in that way, and I think really powerful.
And probably your clients, if that they're all friends with other people that are your client, potential clients as well.
Yeah, you're kind of creating a word of mouth relationship with people that you don't know, which is kind of what you want, because there's also, like we said, that's just building trust.
I love it.
And
Love it.
LinkedIn has really evolved in the past couple of years. It's changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Last question, and then I have my question. How often do you think we need to revise or revamp our sites?
I think that depends on how much content you have. I like to see it intermittently updated and then maybe once a year. But you can add one-off images here and there.
I think you need to be making some kind of update or change to your website every month just to let Google know that you're alive. Even if you're like going in and tweaking, you know, some keywords or something, but also make sure you update it. I would say update it every time you send out some kind of marketing piece. So if people are coming back, they see something a little bit different. And it doesn't have to be a huge overhaul every time, but I would say at least every quarter or whenever you're sending those marketing pieces out, do something, at least something small.
Sounds like a refresh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you say overhaul, are you talking about like a whole brand identity change?
No, just like a re-edit, I think.
Got it. Great.
So this is my one of my final questions. I've a personal one to you two after this. One final quick question. A characteristic of those photographers who do really well in their career after you work with them? Anything specific you notice, a characteristic about a photographer that helped them do very well? Like what?
I think consistency. I think having someone who's able to identify what their like unique value proposition is, what it is that makes them different from someone else, and then lean into that in all aspects of their business. So taking everything we just said, you know, if you're someone who is really fun and poppy and bright, I want to see that reflected in your branding, in your website design, in your social media tone and voice, and in the images that you're sharing, in the way that you communicate with your clients, the way that you are on set. Just having that like personal connection to everything, to me makes a huge difference. And I've known photographers before who they have great work, but they're not the best person. They're not the best photographer in the world. They're very good, but they rise above the crowd by having that really strong branding and that really strong personal attachment that people could sort of grab onto.
Great. That's great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Consistency is probably the most important thing, but also being really curious about your client and what they need, getting out of in your head of what you need to be doing or what you need to be saying. Get really curious about their needs. And as much as I have to be very careful how I say this, photographers who are more extroverted will go further. That being said, I truly believe that extroversion is a muscle that you can build. And I talk about this a lot in my masterclass, how to do that. I think if we, and a lot of my clients do this, identify too much as an introvert, you're giving yourself an excuse not to make those connections and to avoid those things. And that's really critical. It's building relationships and building trust. It doesn't mean you have to work a room, but you do need to, be able to have conversations and ask those questions and get deep and juicy and make those relationships.
And be aware of what the client is, their perspective. I love that.
Right. But doesn't it really start from the work that you do? I mean, if you're really passionate about what you do and you stand behind it, I think anybody who is an introvert can blossom. And if you're talking about that work to an art director, it's like, you're put into it,
I think the talking part is the struggle, though, for the introverts. A lot of people do struggle with how to promote themselves and feeling comfortable putting themselves out there. Like, and that's such a personal thing. The way that I think of being extroverted might be different than how someone else thinks of being extroverted. So it's very subjective. And I think in those cases, at least for me talking to people, it's easier, I think, if you break it down into steps so that you're not, like, I love what you said, Amy, but I think for me, it's easier to tell someone, like, okay, just do this and then do that and then do that, instead of saying, like, just be more outgoing, because that people can't understand that. So that's where Amy and I come in and can say, this is how you do that. This is how you kind of flex that muscle and you spread your wings a little bit.
I think I've gotten so many questions lately about, I'm doing an email campaign, but I have no idea what to say. Well, we can into that next month.
Yeah. Good teaser. Hugh, are you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you coach for photographers for their creative calls? Let's say they get we want to have a creative call. Do you guys get back there and coach them?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's
great.
So good. My
Full
final
service.
What?
Full service. You guys are full service. You guys are the Swiss Army knives of the photography industry.
My final personal question to all of us. Soon we will say hello to 2021. What is something you have learned from this wacky 2020 that you do want to keep for your life in 2021?
We're politely waiting.
Go, Julie.
Okay. I feel like it's so cliche to say this, but I really think 2020 teaches you, like, what your priorities are, and who you want to be around, who you want to be spending your time with, and what you want your life to look like, and the things that were really important. Once I was living in California and having the lockdown, you really realize that without being able to do anything, there are some things that you miss a lot more than other things. And I think that can also kind of translate to informing your career, your lifestyle that you want. As we're looking back, what are the things that you missed the most? What was the biggest pain point here? Was it not seeing your family, not traveling, not seeing your friends? What part of that really hurt the most that we can now go in and say, okay, that needs to be my priority in 2021.
Yeah. Oh, good one.
That's really good.
Amy or Hugh?
I really do feel like things like this webinar have been so important. There's created community. I think that's so important, and it's also enabled a lot of transparency, and it's given a lot of people who haven't had access to this access because they can do it online. And I started doing my own group office hours that are free, and I do a portfolio roulette. So I think this community, other organizations like Focus on Women, which Tracy was here, Authority Collective, things like that. But other things from this year is being really okay with pivoting. If something's not working, don't resist it so much. Just ask yourself what would feel better. It's okay. It's okay to, if you don't think you're going to be able to shoot lifestyle, I see photographers trying product photography, but also taking breaks, allowing yourself rest. Obviously, 2020 has taught us that. Really, community, getting out of your head, find an accountability partner. If you can't afford to work with a consultant, just find a group of people that you can talk to regularly. It's so important, especially, being stuck in our houses. I have a business accountability partners, and that's really transformed business this year.
This is good stuff. This could be our own little something. Yeah. What about you, Hugh?
Oh, I think I've learned powerlessness completely.
Oh gosh.
If there's anything we are completely powerless is over this. And that has really, changed my perspective on, how important is it and I have to ask myself that question. So I've connected to other things that I love to do. I have an appreciation for the walks that I take, for the flower I smell. And I actually think that's influencing my work and the direction. And like Julie was talking about, I just think, I've set a different priority list than I had a year ago. Different.
God, you say it all three of you speak for me, but I'll just say one thing is doing this webinar. And I've always wanted to support APA, so it was a perfect match for me. And you, the attendees, I want to talk to people. I don't like how we're all in our own bubbles. And this has shown me, actually, I'm more social and we're more together than I used to feel when normal times. So
yeah,
I love it.
Totally.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Julie and Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us. And if there's anything any questions we didn't answer, I hope that everyone will reach out to Julie and I through our websites or on Instagram, and we'll help you get those other questions answered.
Totally.
So I look forward to seeing you all again next month as we continue to learn how times are changing and what we need to do about it. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram and join the APA mailing list so you won't miss out on our upcoming episodes. Yes.
I want to thank you both for showing up and donating so much time. I know it's the season of giving and you guys have given so much, so I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Stay for our wrap up. We're going to have a few minutes of a wrap up, so hold on.
Have a wonderful, safe holiday, you guys, okay? Thank you, Julie and Amy.
All right, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, APA. And Sammy's camera?
Sammy's camera. Okay.
Okay.
See you guys later.
Okay, bye. Thank you, guys. Dude, that was damn good, huh?
Oh my God, it was so full.
So good.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we kept it on the websites because I think now we've really understood just how much information we can keep going on that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm fascinated to find out I want to know more about SEOs and how that works. I understand it a bit, but the way Julie was talking about it, it seems like I need to go do some more investigating.
And I like how, and Amy brought up too, to refresh once a month or so your website, some words, so Google will be aware of it. That was pretty good.
That's really interesting.
There were so many good points. I'm like, oh boy, how do I remember which ones? But
so do you think that this is information you could take to your website and your photographers and,
and for myself, for everybody, and for me to help describe it? I think for me, mostly it was how they articulated it. If they put it in words, I'm like, yes. And really, that's what I look for in consultants. Often I have a sense of things and I feel them, but I don't know exactly how to lay them out and say it. And this is what we got to do. And that's harder for me.
Yeah, they seem very seasoned. They know exactly what's going on. So.
And they know how to say it, which I think is their focus.
Yeah.
To bring it out of the photographer to talk about it.
I think it is a bit of psychology. I think a lot of that, it's really interesting, it really is. Because I think it is, that's where it starts. It starts with the photographer.
Do we have a lot of attendees left? I want to ask a question.
We have 72 left.
72 people. Listen, what is something you got out? Also, what is something you want to hear about marketing? And what are other topics you want to hear about? Any kind of
Yes.
feedback for us is always helpful.
Yeah, great. Put it in the chat if you want to now, and we can
even talk about it for a minute.
Because I'll see them all.
I enjoyed doing our pre-chat last time.
How to email editors is one. That's the first one that came up.
So that'll be in marketing. Okay.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Bring it on. Oh, yes. We will. Our recording will be on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't have a killer client list. So what? So
I don't have a
killer, what they want to do.
So what oh, how do you get the killer client list? One way I do it is I look on other photographers' pages that we work the same way. Who are they working for? That's one way.
Oh, here's one. Dealing with imposter syndrome and competition.
Ooh.
We need to get them back on here to talk about that.
Yes, we do. We need the consultants. Yeah. Thank you. And transitioning from events to big name shooting commercial work for those brands. Transitioning, that's really important. All that we talked about today.
Yeah. How to establish first contact during Corona times. I normally send a mailer and follow up via email, but this doesn't work for now. Yeah, the mailers, I think, unfortunately, those are going to go into the trash if they even make it to them.
No,
I think the general consensus was that, everything should be electronic right now, period.
Yeah.
So.
How do we get experience and learn to work with a team like producers, stylists, etc.? Are people usually open to free testing? Some are open to free testing.
Yes.
And
sometimes the producer has an underling that they're working with who is, they're, learning the process. So you may be able to go there. I've worked with stylists straight out of school. Sometimes the stylists have an assistant that you can work with. So that's a good way to start.
Yeah. I would say definitely if you're not so busy, that is something you should be doing right now. Yeah. Build your team, meet with people, find new assistants, find a dig tech.
Shoot work if you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Takeaway. You live and die by the first 8 seconds. I say 2 to 3 seconds, but okay, 8, I'll give 8.
Someone says, here's an interesting one. If the client name is big, but the work is not great or matches your style, include it or not?
Oof. I'd say not, but in the client list, you put their name. Yeah. Because the visual, it will bring you down.
No, that's true. It's
very,
very true. So.
You got to go 3 minutes ago.
I do have to go.
Oh.
Now I want to say thank you, Andrea. Thank you, APA LA, and the wonderful board I'm a part of. Thank you, Patty Silverstein, for being behind us the entire way. Thank you. Thanks to Sammy's camera, our great support. And I would love for everyone to join APA because we are here to advocate for you. We are here as a community, and we're here to support you. So
we're a hub. We APA, we're a hub of information.
We the hub. So, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Okay? And to you too.
You too. Right? Thanks for being my partner in this. You are.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Really.
I'm speechless.
Aw. Happy holidays. You're making me blush. Now I'm going to imagine.
Next month.
Yep. See you next year.
Next year.
Okay. Yeah, bye-bye to 2020.
See ya.
See ya.